In this video, I'm going to answer a question that I get a lot. How did you grow 1 million followers on LinkedIn? July 2018, I'm working a regular job, and I definitely did not love my job, but it paid enough so that I could have my daughter in a nice daycare during the day, have our own place that we rented at the time, still live with financial stress all the time, not ever sure if I would have enough, to the point where sometimes I would be putting in like $4 in gas to make it to work. The first lesson here, a lot can change in a short amount of time. Fast forward, one day I'm at work and I get a call that I have to go get her because she has a fever. Looking back on it, I didn't know that that was going to be the last time I was ever at that desk. Pretty mind-blowing looking back. I went and got her from daycare. By that night, the fever had not gone down, brought her into the local ER. The fever still was not going down. She ended up being admitted for about 14 days. It was around the 12th day that I get a text from my then boss, and the text was an ultimatum saying that I had to come back to work or that the job was not going to be waiting for me when I got out of the hospital. It was a moment that I'll never forget. And I think that these moments don't happen often in our lives. Time kind of slows down, and you almost know in your gut that the decision you're making in that moment will have a butterfly effect on the rest of your life. In my mind, I had two options. The first option was to just get another job and have that financial security. Option B would be try to replace my then full-time income by blogging, by writing articles, by getting whatever freelance marketing clients that I could get so that my daughter wouldn't have to go to daycare so that I could be home with her. What really sealed the deal for me was I knew that if I chose option A, there would always be a tiny sliver of regret, of wondering, could I have done it? The cost of that what if was a cost that I was unwilling to pay. It definitely outweighed the potential risk of not being able to make option B happen. Going into option B, I gave myself originally 1 month to get my first client online. Not because I necessarily wanted to, but because I had to. Just because you start with a small goal doesn't mean you're not going to achieve more than you ever thought was possible. The type of business, income, skills that I have today, I would have never even been able to believe that I could achieve. I think for some people, burning all boats or having your back against the wall activates something inside of you that you've probably never seen before, and you're just much more likely to make it happen. Sometimes it's actually harder for someone that's making $100,000, $200,000 in a corporate job because they have more to lose. In my mind, what could I lose? The absolute worst thing that could happen was that I would lose it all and have to sleep on my mom's couch for 3 to 4 weeks before I get another job. Best case scenario, my entire life has changed. My daughter's entire life has changed. And more than anything, I've proven to myself that I'm able to do it. That same night, I started Googling, which brings me to a next lesson. I didn't just think about it and sit there. I was Googling within 15, 20 minutes of making a decision because in my mind, the clock had already started ticking for that 30-day timeline that I had given myself, because I had told myself if I don't get a client in 30 days, then I'm going to forget that this ever happened and I'm going to not regret never having tried. And so I started Googling how to get blogging clients online, how to make money blogging online, how to make money writing, how to find freelance marketing clients online. And the reason why I focused on writing was because I did a lot of that in all of the previous jobs that I had had in one way or another. There was one woman's article that really caught my attention because she had mentioned something in the article that I had never seen before or heard of before, and it was this place called LinkedIn. So she basically said, go to LinkedIn, optimize your profile, and then cold message people to become your clients. And that's not the advice that I give today for sure. In those instructions, it said, if you don't have client portfolio, if you don't have testimonials, try to reach out to a few people to do a few free articles or blogs so that you could get that testimonial, so that you could use the project that you do for them as a case study for your portfolio so that you can then get paid clients. Before leaving the hospital on day 14, I had my first testimonial. By the third week of all of this outreach, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous because I'm up against my deadline. That fear starts setting in. And it was really a battle between fear and faith. faith, but I was leaning more towards faith only because within that 3-week period, I had reached out. I was commenting on a lot of people's posts. I was learning. I was doing more free case studies so that I could improve my skills. At around the 3.5 week, I get a message on LinkedIn from a gentleman who says that he's looking for a ghostwriter for a book that he wants to write and that he would like to see a proposal. Fast forward 2 days later, I closed that deal. I got paid more than I would have the entire month at my previous job and then some. It was such a pivotal moment. The car payment was due, car insurance was about to get revoked, everything. That was really life-changing for me because that moment proved that making money online was really possible. And once you have one of those, it gives you the confidence to move forward and to continue to do the activities. Fast forward a few months, the way that I'm getting business starts to become draining. I'd have to cold message a lot of people, maybe 3 a week would reply, maybe 1 call a week. And then because I was constantly having to convince, there was this consistent pattern of lowballing and negotiation and persuasion. And I knew that there had to be a better way because if everyone had to work this hard to get 1 client, then no wonder business is so hard and unenjoyable. And I don't want you to think that it's impossible to build a business cold calling or cold messaging or that it's wrong. I know people who are extremely successful that have built their business that way. It was the wrong method for me. And because I didn't feel like it really aligned with my strengths and who I was and the way that I wanted to start a client relationship, that started to bleed into whether I did the activity or not, and it started to affect my business. So by late November of 2018, I'm in a critical moment again, because if I don't find a better way to get clients that I actually enjoy and that feels authentic to me, then I probably will not be the best building this business because it feels treacherous every day. And I knew that there was because I'd see people creating content that were crushing it, then influencers on LinkedIn to Tony Robbins, to Grant Cardone, to Marie Forleo. That excitement that people have when they work with someone like a Tony Robbins is something that I looked at and I said, well, I want that. I don't want to have to cold call someone to become a client. I want someone to make that decision pretty much on their own. And if we have to get on a call, I just want it to be a conversation that is open and that is not me persuading them and pulling them up a mountain. I knew that the answer to this was content, was visibility, was showing up consistently and earning that trust. And I was kind of skeptical because I just sat back and I was like, well, it worked for them. It worked for them. It worked for them, but I don't know if it'll work for me. I gave myself a timeline. I said, okay, even though I'm not going to enjoy this experience because I'm an introvert, I don't really like getting on camera. I don't really like doing video. I mean, I love it now, but then it really was uncomfortable for me. So I gave myself 30 days and I said, I'm going to do a video every single day for 30 days. And if it doesn't make a difference, if the business doesn't get better, then I'll drop it. It is what it is. And if I don't want to have to go back to another job, I need to get clients and the content doesn't work, then this is the thing that I'm going to have to master. It's just, it is what it is. So I posted my first video late November 2018 and I kept it up for a month. But very quickly, I started to see changes. So the first thing that I started to see was that people started to reach out to me. And that was a huge change because up until then, I had only been the one connecting with people. They would reject 99% of my requests. They really wouldn't reply to my messages, and they certainly wouldn't reply to a request to get on a consultation. That was maybe 1%. It was just a treacherous hill to get a client. This is a great lesson if you're a new creator. Don't underestimate the small changes along the way. For example, the second week that I did videos on LinkedIn, I got multiple inbound messages saying, hey, let's connect. I like your videos. And for some people, sometimes when I see that they start creating, they'll be like, that's not a big deal. But that actually is a big deal. It's a key indicator that what you're doing is getting you closer to the goal, that people are noticing, people are resonating with your message. So I think that that's highly underestimated. And I was like, this is new. That just fueled me to keep going, kept going. By day 30, I was getting inbound leads. And the thing that really sold me on content was the conversations that I started having. It wasn't just that people would reach out for a call. This started to consistently happen over and over again. But what really sold me was when I would get on the call with an inbound lead, the energy of the conversation was so different than an outbound conversation. An outbound conversation felt like I'm pulling teeth, I'm having to convince, I'm having to push. An inbound conversation just felt like I was having a conversation with a friend, like I was answering some clarifying questions. It didn't feel like I would have to really persuade and push and interrogate and all of that. The conversations were much shorter, so they came to me already pretty much trusting me, knowing more or less what I stood for and who I was. So instead of having to be on a call for 30 or 45 minutes, they lasted maybe 15 or 20. Had a couple of clarifying questions. The third thing was that they said yes to working with me a lot more. But not only that, because I had gotten people to say yes with outbound, but a lot of the times they would ghost me after the fact when I would send them the proposal or the contract or the payment link. The biggest difference was that 95% of the people that said yes on the phone would move forward within 48 to 72 hours, signing the contract and submitting their payment. And there was a lot less, if any, negotiation. Not only that, but they became better clients that I actually enjoyed working with, that I looked forward to meetings with. They did their work on their end, which got them results a lot faster. They stayed clients longer, so the business made more money. And then they also referred people to me. And by day 59 of posting videos, I had already transitioned from 100% outbound to 100% inbound, and I have never looked back since. I still didn't even have 5,000 connections on LinkedIn by that point. So you don't need a huge LinkedIn following to monetize, to start having conversations, to get inbound clients. And I know that this is true through other clients of mine. I didn't stop once I started getting clients and once my freelancing really turned into a marketing agency. I put the pedal to the metal. I started to introduce different types of content, text, images, more videos, longer videos. And I didn't just stop because I got busy or because I got clients. And I think that this is something that separates people that are business owners who grow a personal brand long term, is that their first problem may be that they don't have any clients. But the second problem really becomes, well, how do I continue to market my business while also delivering for my clients on the back end? It's something that a lot of business owners who are building their personal brands struggle with. At the 1 year mark, growing my personal brand on LinkedIn, I had about 30,000 connections. So it was okay, but not massive. But I had already built a multiple six-figure business. You do not need to be the biggest creator to monetize LinkedIn. I just want to be very clear with that. But there's a tipping point that happens. And it happened because one of my posts went very viral. I think it got like 250,000 likes or something. That took me from like 30,000 followers to 100,000 in a month. And I think there's another lesson here where I didn't slow down. I think that one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of creators who are business owners make is that they don't maximize momentum. Momentum is so hard to build. It is literally like throwing away piles of gold in the trash if you don't put the pedal to the metal when momentum is on your side. I kind of just pretended that it didn't go viral and I just continued to post at a normal rate. And I think that took me to like 200,000 followers over the next year. So the next pivotal moment in growing to 1 million followers on LinkedIn was the start of the pandemic. I remember getting a call from my mentor. I remember him saying, a lot of people are going to get fearful right now. We're going to step up as leaders. We had this meeting. It was very inspirational. And I remember in that moment, it was kind of like the moment in the hospital. I don't know, my gut just started speaking to me. My stomach wasn't growling or anything, but it just felt like a message was coming through. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. So in that moment, I made another decision, another commitment. I'm going to show up every single day, no matter what, during this dark time, because people will need it. And even if this is the apocalypse, I guess we're going to ride through this together. That's exactly what I did. Instead of showing up just one time a day during the entire pandemic, I showed up 1 to 2 times a day. I doubled down while a lot of other creators stopped entirely or slowed down. Just looking back in hindsight, that allowed me to get more market share of the visibility. And then on top of that, because of the pandemic, people were unfortunately losing their jobs, so they were coming to LinkedIn. A lot of business owners who had put off marketing for too long were also coming to LinkedIn to start to get clients. And I think that that also affected everything. There were more people on LinkedIn, there were less people creating, and I was doubling down. And I was also positioned to double down at an accelerated rate because I had grown so much the previous 2 years. What you're doing today is literally preparing you and positioning you for opportunities that could arrive for you to accelerate your personal brand, to accelerate your business, to serve people at 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. It's not just what you could see or even predict. And what really motivated me through the pandemic were all the messages that I was getting. I got thousands of messages of just people saying, "Hey, Shanee, your post really inspired me. I was laid off. You know, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the way that you show up for people." People would send me paragraphs. That took me to about like 800,000, and then just the consistency really has brought me to almost 1 million. The main thing that I'd say is that there's a lot of timing. There's a lot of, I don't want to say luck. You can't control so many things along this journey. There's just so many variables that all you could do is focus on becoming better and better and better and better and better and better. I didn't even realize during this process how many skills that I was learning, the level of learning that was really happening, from communication to hand movements, to looking at the camera, to learning camera production, to the tech, to understanding my audience, to building community, to creative skills. There's just so much critical thinking, strategy, and there's so much growth that you're not even prepared for. I think that at the end of the day, when you're a business owner who is also building a personal brand, it truly just is a process of self-discovery and self-mastery and continuous improvement. Focus on the things that you can control. The more you do what you're supposed to, the more you position yourself and your business to succeed, the higher the probability that it will. Ask yourself, is your business more or less likely to be successful if you do 365 videos this year, or if you don't? We all know the answer.